All right. Did you all get the memo? Screen recording on? Did it send you a memo? Yes. Screen sharing. Okay, I think it's recording. Great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Mariena from Mellonhead, and we are here to go over a lot of the exciting features that Gamma launched in their 3.0 launch. We also have Amanda Rothbart on. She's the community manager at Gamma, and she's going to be monitoring the chat today and answering questions while I go through the demo. Before I jump in, I did want to share that if you're not familiar with Mellonhead Labs, it's a community for learning AI and it focuses on teaching practical skills based on research, not hype. This is just something that I do for fun to give back. And so if you're interested at all in doing hands-on experiments and learning in community, you can use the QR code to learn more. And if you want to get alerted when we drop experiment 2, you can subscribe to the newsletter. But that's all the selling I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and jump in because we have a lot to go through today. There's a lot in this 3.0 launch that I want to show you guys. What you can expect is a really rapid fire demo. Um, Use the chat for Q&A. Amanda will be answering questions because there's so much I want to show you. I'm not going to have time likely for live Q&A. But if we do have time, I'll take a couple questions at the end. And so Amanda will surface from the chat some of those things to me that we think will be good for sort of everyone to hear, especially people who might be viewing the recording. So there's 5 features I'm going to go through. You can see I've tried to very much micromanage my time. Agent's the big one, and there's several things I want to show you about Agent and how you can use it to update your presentations. And then we're going to go through smart layouts, diagrams, what you can do to configure your gammas, and hopefully we'll have time to do something a little more fun, image editing and animation. And then I will share this afterwards as well. These are some resources that, if you're a new user to Gamma, I'm not actually going through a lot of the sort of beginner, ways to use Gamma or what you can do with it. But I do have a YouTube that I did for CX Exchange on how to use Gamma. And then the resource for that is there as well. Everyone who uses Gamma also has tips and tricks. And then there's a link to the Help Center there as well. All right, so let's jump in. So for this, what I'm going to be doing is using an example that I created. All right, there we go. Which is a Gamma that is a document to help my high schooler put together a list of colleges. We're going to use this as a living document, and so it's actually not a presentation. So if we look at what came up with, this is sort of the Gamma that came up right from generation. I haven't touched it. And what I see right off the back is it chose to put some of these layouts where you have an image on the right side, which can be a nice layout in a presentation. But when you have these sort of, open form documents, just, I don't know, it doesn't look very good. So the first thing I want to do is actually get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open up the agent. And I've got some sort of bar in the way. There we go. So you can find agent on the top right. And I'm going to clear it out. And so you'll just type in here like you would many other inline AI assistants. And I've got some prompts ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell it I want to adjust card layouts. And I want to take all of the left and right accent layouts, and I want them to be a no image layout. And so you'll see what it's going to do is it's going to start going through, and it's actually going to look through the entire Gamma. And in this case, I had, I think, 2 cards that had this type of layout, and it found both of them. And you can see now on the left, the original, and now on the right, it got rid of that, which is awesome. If I keep looking a little bit, I might also see, some of these, um, let's see, update card headers. I'm looking at the titles and I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like this title. I feel like my high schooler, it's a little too kind of formal, right? With this sort of title, subtitle format. So I'm also going to use the agent to update the text. So it's not just the formatting, but the text itself. So in this case, I'm updating the card headers and I've noticed that it's got this title colon subtitle. I'm going to tell it, you know what, I don't want any jargon. Keep it easy to understand and specific. And again, now you'll see it's going to go through every single card. And you see kind of they all had this format. Um, and it's going to start putting much simpler language. And in this case, I think something like all 9 cards it's updating. All right. So now you see it's more simple, making the most of your campus visit, building your college visit list. So that's great. It followed that instruction really well. Um, Another thing you can do is if you want to like make pretty big changes to the layout, you can do that quite quickly. So this one I had here, this to me looks very much like a presentation. I actually want with my son to create columns where I give him a list of things to consider when he's going to plan for a college. And then he can sort of drag them in this document into like something that's important to him, something that's not important. Um, and so that makes it much more almost interactive versus this sort of presentation look and feel. And so I don't even necessarily know exactly what to call that. I'm just describing it really in language that's natural to me. I want to have 4 columns. Maybe it's a table, maybe it's a column layout. I'm going to let Gamma, let the agent specifically figure it out, and we'll see how it does. One thing while it's thinking, I'll say, as you start to have longer conversations, you may notice this is in beta. So sometimes you'll get like an error. And if that happens, which I see sometimes on longer conversations, clearing it out is really all you need to do. Every once in a while, you might reload the page, but you will sometimes see things like that because it's still in beta. Uh, oh, it's still thinking. Usually doesn't take this long. Let me see, grab the next one. Well, that's what you get with a live demo. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that and try again because it doesn't usually take that long. Hope this one works because this was one of my favorite ones because this would normally be a whole lot of clicking and moving things around. So in this case, it's both going to hopefully come up with a list itself, but at least come up with the layout. Yeah, okay. So you can see it started the layout I wanted. I actually would have liked to have everything and not prioritize. So that's the next thing I would do. I'm going to skip that here just to keep the demo moving to show you guys more things, but we can definitely continue to improve on this. And it's something that, is going to help me sort of really quickly get this document created so that I'm not myself spending time doing all these things directly in the document. But one of the things that is really helpful is that you can actually use the agent to do web research, just like you can do on many other AI assistants. Now you can do that directly in Gamma too. So you don't have to actually leave Gamma to do your research. So in this case, my son cares about being able to sort of find a school in an area where he can walk and bike. He's not interested in driving. And so I'm going to do some research and find some colleges that I can add into this list to create a table. So the first step of that is to do that research. But once you do it, then Gamma is actually smart enough that it can put it directly in there for you. So you can see now it's searching the web. Just do a time check. 2 minutes in. And it came up with some schools, both in the US and because I asked it also to look at UK since we're looking at broad. And so now I'm going to take that and I'm going to ask it to create a brand new card that actually has this information. So you can see you don't have to use agent just for editing your gamma, but you can use it for research. You can create brand new cards with it, all kinds of things. Let's see. There's a ton more you can do on layouts. I'm not going to include everything. So yeah, here's what it created. But what I will say is just play around with it. Try it. It can't do everything. For instance, I ran into a limitation yesterday where I wanted to create a QR code. Agent couldn't do that, but Gamma can, and I can do it directly within Gamma using that sort of slash shortcuts. So I think it's just going to continue to improve, and the team is continuing to build it out. So I'm sure by the time they drop this beta, it'll do pretty much everything. So the last thing I wanted to show you for agent though is if you already have data maybe that you've been working on outside of Gamma or images that you wanted to sort of get information from, you can actually upload that directly. And so I have this screenshot that I took of this table here, where, for instance, I had started to myself look at how far are some of these schools, how big are they, things like that. And so if I want to attach that file, I can say add the information from this table into the table with walkable colleges. And now it's actually going to parse that table and add those as additional columns and append it, which is really exciting. One thing that is a limitation still, Amanda had actually shared with me, is you can't take this and directly create like a diagram from it or a chart, things like that. But it's a great way to get that information first into the Gamma, and then you can just use maybe a two-step prompt, for instance, to change it to a different layout. All right, and there we go. Now we see it added those things, like it has Seattle and Oregon are close-ish, right? Which wasn't even directly in my list, but it was able to kind of figure that out based on the other information, which is really cool. So I didn't even have to, kind of clean up that data myself. All right, so that's everything for agents. We're going to check that one off. Next is smart layouts. Smart layouts is one of my favorites because there are just so many things that you can do in terms of layouts. I'm actually going to start with this Find Your College Match one. So if you don't know what smart layouts are, you can find the list of them here on the menu bar, and you can see Gamma has been adding things like nonstop. Every time I open this box, I find new layouts, which is really exciting. But if you can't keep up and you don't want to necessarily change things manually all the time, one of the things you can do is when you click this dot, 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 and it opens up the sort of configuration, you can just click change layout. And now Gamma is sort of preloading different ideas for you. And so you can see over a dozen different options and just look at those thumbnails to get a sense for what's going to be the best way to tell this story. How is this information going to look best? And for me, I'm like, oh, you know what? I really love the idea of images, for instance, um, to kind of visualize the difference between maybe a small college and a sort of large research university or something urban. So I'm going to stick with that. But you can do a lot more than just look at their thumbnails. You can actually optimize each of these. So you can, for instance, change the width of the columns. You can change the size of the images. All of the different layouts have their own configuration options. So depending on what you choose, there's a lot of different things that you can do, whether it's customizing icons, for instance, widths. So it's fun to, just use this to sort of find what's the right way for me to put this information so that it's really easy to consume. So it's easy for the reader to understand the message that I'm trying to tell. Let me see, is that it on layouts? All right, so that's everything on layouts. Smart diagrams is the next thing I want to show you. So smart diagrams is also available from the sidebar. These are a little bit different than layouts in that they are sort of visualizations that help you see information in a way that is more visual versus the layouts, which tends to be more like for a list of items. And so you'll find that they work best with small amounts of information and smaller amounts of text. And let's see, for instance, we've got this puzzle here, right? It might be that when you're at a high level looking at what colleges matter most, instead of all this text, which, you don't really read, what if we were to actually visualize that as a puzzle? Well, I said I was done with agent, but I have one more thing I'm going to do, which is to show you actually how you can really quickly convert something into a smart diagram because there isn't sort of a clicking way you can do it on the UI. The agent is actually the easiest way to do that. And so I'm just going to say convert that sort of college selection approach into a smart diagram. And we'll see if it figures out that that's the right card. So I think wording's a little different, but hopefully it's smart enough. If not, we might need to be a little more precise in our wording. And it did. It got the right one. And we can see this puzzle. This is a great way to visualize how you think about the different criteria for choosing a college. So I really like that. But if I didn't, you can again click on that dot, dot, dot. This is always the thing that you can use to sort of configure things. So you can use that. The diagrams have, you have a few different options, not quite as many as the layouts, but you can change coloring. For some of them, you'll be able to add and remove different items, but you can also use it to then quickly kind of change the diagram itself if you wanted to sort of try different visuals. In this case, I actually really like the puzzle, but if I wanted to play around with different things, that would be a good way to quickly do that. All right, so that is smart diagrams. Let's go back to our list. We're actually doing pretty good on time. Hopefully I'm not rushing too fast and you guys have time to catch a breath in here. All right, configurability. So what does this mean? Really, everything in Gamma is configurable. But one of the sort of advanced features that I wanted to show people that I love personally, because I think it just helps convey information really well, are nested cards and toggles, because I think these are things that allow you to put together a lot of information in a way that lets you compress it and up level it for people so that you can tell the big picture of your story and then individually dive into specifics. I think for something like this, it can be really great because if my son has a list of colleges, he can have an individual Gamma card for each college, but then we can create a nested card to up level them. So let's do that. I was going to pre-create them and I think I deleted them when I was reverting back. So I'm just going to do 2 of them so it doesn't take too long. So let's say create 2 Gammas, one for UCLA and one for, let's say USC, because I'm in Los Angeles. Not Gammas, I should have said a card, but hopefully it knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, it didn't. I meant a card. Each. Maybe I'll tell it to include. Um, and if I wasn't doing this in the demo, I would probably have like a bulleted list of like the template and things I want to include so that it could do that research and then put it on the card itself. So while it's doing this, let's see. We'll take this information and convert this into a toggle, and that way you can actually, we'll let that go and we'll come back to the nested cards. So for toggles, or you can use this convert here, and then you can start to drag information, or cut and paste is what I'm going to do. And now we can really quickly sort of bring that information up. And so what I'm going to do, whoops. Okay, there we go. It added that. All right, I'm going to finish the toggle and then we'll come back to this. So you could do that and you can see how now, if you had a few of these, that's just going to up level that text so that it's easier to read. All right, so I'm not going to go through and do all of it, but you can kind of see how now that's allowing me to, when someone's reading the document, get through that high level information and then let them go to the detail. All right, so it looks like it finished my cards. So that's great. All right, so what I'm going to do, you see I have these 2 cards, one for USC and one for UCLA. What I'm going to do is really quickly, I'm just going to create a blank card and I'm going to call it my college shortlist. And then what you can actually do is you can drag these gammas. So you can do that if you wanted to move things up and down, but it's also to create what we call nested cards. And so now in this way, I have a really easy way to just see that list. And you can, for instance, hide the preview if you wanted to keep it just to the title. But this is going to make it so it's really easy to go through each of those. And then when you want, you can expand that and actually see that information. If I had more time, I would kind of clean up that look and feel because I'm not loving the kind of default, right? It's hard to see this with this accent image, but that's okay. And then when you click out of that, oh, you have to, oh, there we go. It has this button here that you can then collapse it back. All right, so that is configurability. And we do have enough time actually to go through image editing, which is great. So let's do that. So image editing is something you also use Agent for. So I think I had, let's see, an image that I was going to use. All right, this one right here is sort of a strange style, right? I don't know what's going on here. It's a mix of like realism with something. And so what I want to do in this one is I don't like the style, so I'm just going to say adjust this to a cartoon style. And because I had that image selected, now the agent actually knows that we're going to modify this image specifically. It's the same thing actually with other objects. If you click on agent and you have these objects selected, it'll know that that's the specific objects that you want to change. So there are multiple ways you can use this. I did changing style, but I think one of the common ways I've actually used it is it's taking an AI image that isn't quite what you want and maybe removing an object or making some slight edits to that image. Or maybe it's a stock image that you got that you want to make a few changes with. You could do that. The other cool thing that you can do with it is animate. And so you could, for instance, maybe it's going to have that person grabbing the pizza. I wasn't specific, so we'll kind of see what does agent feel like. The vibe of the photo is that it should animate, but you can definitely be more specific. And it's just going to generate like a 2 to 3 second animation. Da, 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 with the drum roll. And there you go. And you can see that it did sort of change the aspect ratio, which is unfortunate. I feel like right now this is the technology from what I've noticed. I haven't found the way to sort of control it. It's a little bit following instructions and it's also interpreting things how it wants. So um, that's the limitation of it. But it is a great way to add, I think, whimsy to your presentations. I've seen some people use it to sort of add panning to make things just feel a little bit more dynamic and less flat, which is great, I think, to just keep people engaged as they're watching your presentation or going through your document as well. So we actually did it, guys. We made it through all 5 of these, which is amazing. Hopefully you're still with me. Take time to take a breath since we have about 5 minutes left. Amanda, I'm going to ask you, how's the chat looking? What questions should I answer?
Yeah, so we just got a couple of questions that just came in. Irina asked, how do you do the check box thingy? Check the box thingy.
Yeah, you're talking about right here. So this is, I'm going to get out of actually this presentation mode and let's see if I can remember what this one was called. Um, Checkbox? Oh, to-do list. To-do list. And thank goodness it was smart enough to know when I started typing check to show me the to-do list. So yeah, that's just a to-do list. Love it, Arena.
And then we had one other question from Paige asking, how do you add alt text?
You're talking about like to photos for accessibility, like that?
I think so.
Can you add that? Let's see. So if we look at an image, I don't think I've seen alt text. Do you know that that's possible?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been testing it. I haven't personally
Yeah.
figured it out.
I don't think it's supported right now, but maybe we can add that, Amanda, as a feature request. Can we take that back to the team?
Totally.
We definitely want accessible presentations, so I think that's a great question.
Awesome. A couple of questions. Oh yeah, Paige. Oh, Paige, yes, I remember you asking about this in the community about there's like a new DOJ ruling coming out with
It's not, I'm sorry, I'll just unmute. It's easier than typing. It's not new, but everything has to be accessible by April 24th, 2026. So there's not much time left So everything in here has to be accessible. So any toggles and everything that a screen reader, so everything that is in the Gamma is going to have to meet screen reader, alt text, the descriptive links that one's already does, and color contrast. So those are the really big topics that you need to make sure that you're covered. Otherwise, a lot of us Gamma users are going to have to go to
Mm,
PowerPoint because of the accessibility piece.
thank you for flagging that. That's good to know.
It's on the team's radar. It's been coming up more and more, and we're absolutely looking into it. So
All right. Any other questions?
uh, let's see. A couple ones came in.
I do see actually we have a hand raised, so maybe while you're going through the chat, Stacy, what's your question?
Thank you. Yeah, so I had a meeting with, I think, is it Nico last week? Is that your product guy, Nico?
Nick is the product guy from, yeah.
Okay, I know it's with a C though. Anyway, so one of the things I found with Agent is that it lies, which is, standard on, certain, like it would say, I would say, change that to casual clothing. And it would say, I've changed it. They're wearing a sweater, but I'm working on something for nurses, so they would have on scrubs, and I'd have to call it on it. I don't see the changes you've made, and find, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't. So it would say, yes, I've made the change, and then I've had to call it on it. So I'm just curious if that something is like known, now it's fixed, or if you've experienced, or if anybody's experienced that as well.
I mean, I'll start and just say, as a fellow user of AI assistants all over the place, I think that there's definitely limitations to the technology where they all do that to a degree. So, as users, I think there's a bit of retrying things, wording things in different ways that you can do to overcome those. But I'll let Amanda speak up and if there's anything specifically Gamma's working on to kind of reduce those on their side.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, like to echo what Marina said, it's, tends to be a limitation of some of these AI systems. I mean, there's a couple things that I keep in mind here, which is that agent is still very much in beta, and so we're constantly improving on it. And if there's ever an instance where you get the wrong input, or it's like, I made this change, and it's like, no, you didn't. There's the option to put a thumbs down and then basically give feedback directly to the team. You can also put it in the bugs channel, which I know you've been sharing feedback. But yeah, it's definitely something that we are constantly working on improving. It's just a matter of, you know, getting it to get things right. And still sometimes it doesn't get it right, but I appreciate the feedback.
Tom, and that's going to be, I think,
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's awesome. I absolutely love Gamma. Obviously, yeah, you guys are absolutely awesome. One thing that I tend to struggle with, I can't do a landing page. You know, when you want to do something short, like a title and just a video, just some short text, and Gamma just like extends everything all the time, which is kind of useful. But then obviously in kind of real tight marketing, just marketing, you just want like a short bit. Have you, I mean, obviously I can delete it out, and obviously I can edit it, and obviously I can put my own personal effort in, but I'm trying to be lazy. I'm trying to do it quicker. And so one is, have you come up with any ways of doing a short, impactful, kind of like ClickFunnels style, like landing page? And second, how have you found any kind of like data capture? I assume you use forms, but is there anything coming with like email sequencing off the back and things like that to add in the ecosystem? Anyway, that's my question.
I haven't specifically tested, I think, that use case, but if you're not already, I would use the most concise version when you're creating the gamma. And
Yeah.
then you know how you can do the language part, you can put like approachable, professional. You might put like TEDx style or presentation Zen, or like you talked about a
Okay.
specific term of a type of marketing. If you haven't already, try using that specific term and see if that helps.
Keyword. Yeah. Okay, cool. I must admit the agent has been really helpful at then reworking it. I have to say it's
Exactly.
been
And that's
it's
what I
hugely powerful.
Because I
Yeah.
noticed the same thing. It was too long, so I was using agent so that I don't have to go through
Yeah.
and click, 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 and just tell agent
Yeah.
all at once, change the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amanda, anything you can say about lead capture and whether or not that's on the roadmap?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. Tom, are you in the Ambassador community?
I am, yeah. I got
Okay.
my water bottle.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. I was gonna say if if you haven't already, put it in the ideas and requests channel. It'll go directly to, and of course, I can also send it directly to the team, give it a little bump. But yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that's something we're directly focusing on right now.
Okay, great. Because the kind of presentation lead magnet, they kind of switch just so close together. You know what I mean? It's like, how can you, it's just nudging it that way for digital marketing. But that's me done. Thank you so much. And yeah, I've joined your community as well. So I'll look forward to hearing more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I know we're 1 minute over. Thank you, Amanda, for joining and helping answer questions in the chat, as well as for all of us here. We appreciate you joining us. I hope this was useful for all of you. And yeah, keep learning, and would love to see you in Mellonhead Labs.
Will we have more of these?
We'll see. We'll see. I'm not affiliated with Gamma. I'm a ambassador, but I'm not a part of Gamma. So if I do them, I'd probably be doing like different tools. And Mellonhead Labs focuses more on hands-on research-backed experiments. So we'd solve kind of practical problems. And yeah, we're going to focus on creating surveys next, actually.
So you just did this in conjunction with, and because I wasn't clear about what the connection was.
Oh yeah, I'm a Gambassador, so I'm just a part of the community of people that are fans of Gamma, love using Gamma, and a power user. So I wanted to do this just because I had people in my own network that hear me talk about Gamma and wanted to know, well, how do you do this or that? And so as a power user, I wanted to just kind of take time to share the things I know.
Oh, got it. Thank you. Well, you know what? I'll throw it out there. Amanda, I would love to potentially do something too, showing the ways that I use it as I'm perfecting so
Yeah,
using it for social, for example, because I'm doing that for a client. So just throwing it out there.
awesome. All right, thanks, Stacy.